What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for pressing play. Today we are going to talk about the two top dog C8 Corvettes, and that is going to be, of course, the Z06 and the ERAY. Which one's better for you? Which one's cheaper? Let's jump right into it right now. All right, guys, so like you heard there in the beginning, we are discussing the C8 Corvette Z06 and the C8 ERAY and really breaking down the price points of these cars to find out ultimately which one is the best bang for your buck, which one is technically quote-unquote cheaper, and what these cars' actual use is really all about. So what does GM really want these cars to be used for? Let's start off with the brand new 2023 C8 Corvette Z06. We have been talking about this car for what seems like forever on this channel, and I have recently had the privilege of driving both the Z06 and the Z07 package car, and I am absolutely in love with this thing. Now, from the very beginning, I knew I was not necessarily an ERAY fan. I wasn't going to go the way of the ERAY, but at the same time, that car is not to be discounted because it is going to offer some amazing performance of its own. We're going to get into all of that in 1 second. Before we continue, I just wanted to mention the sponsor of today's video, and that is going to be Hyperion. So this is a case that you can actually open up and put your key into, and it will block any RFID signals from being transmitted. What that means is it will block the connection between the key and your car, so nobody can steal the code from your key that goes to the car and steal your car. So with the key for the C8 out, we can go ahead and pop it right into this case here and put the top on, and while it's in here, the car will not start. So if we press the start button, it's going to pop up on the dash there and tell us there's no key found. This is an entirely aluminum block case with magnets that hold the top closed. I will put a link down in the description below, guys. If you are interested in any of this kind of security for yourself, be sure to check it out. And I'll even put a code down there for you guys to save some money on one. The 2023 C8 Corvette Z06 comes with a 670 horsepower V8 flat plane crank, naturally aspirated engine that is literally going to rocket this thing from 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds. And what GM states a quarter mile time at is 10.6 seconds at 131.6 miles per hour. For a stock car, those are some pretty freaking amazing numbers. Now, this particular C8 Corvette Z06 has a starting price of $106,395. And that price quickly escalates when you start selecting some options. But let's jump into the overview of the ERAY now. So this is going to be a 2024 model year car for GM, and what this car brings to the table that's different than the Z06 is going to be the fact that it has an electric motor driving the front wheels, effectively giving it all-wheel drive and additional horsepower over the stock base model C8 Corvette Stingray. What's the engine driving this particular car? Well, it is the exact same LT2 engine with 495 horsepower that you would find in the C8 Corvette Stingray Z51. On top of that, we do have that electric motor putting out an additional 160 horsepower, which effectively brings the ERAY total horsepower to 655. And it has the starting price of $104,295. So by now, you're probably asking yourself, well, Justin, that car only has 15 less horsepower than the Z06. Why is it cheaper than the Z06? Well, we're going to talk about exactly why and exactly how much cheaper it really is. On the surface, it appears to only be about $2,000 less, but there are a lot of included options with the ERAY that are additional costs for the Z06 that actually bring the price-to-price comparison a lot more into the ERAY's favor. So right off the bat, with the ERAY at $104,295, that actually includes the carbon ceramic rotor option for the Z06. And even though you can get the carbon ceramic rotor option on the Z06 without selecting the Z07 package, it still is almost an $8,500 option. So right off the bat, you can take that additional $2,000 you're saving for choosing the ERAY, and you can add an extra $8,500 to it. So we are already over $10,000 less on the ERAY than the Z06, especially if you were going to spec it with those carbon ceramic rotors. Now, with that noted, the ERAY does not have an option for a rotor setup that is not carbon ceramic. So there is no way to take any additional price off of that car because of that specific option. So to compare these fairly, I'm assuming that both of these cars would have carbon ceramic rotors, and the price right off the bat is $10,000 less for the ERAY. Now, if you're interested in either one of these two cars, you will be happy to know that the majority of the options are the same. You can get the carbon fiber wheels on either the Z06 or the E-Ray. There is a new style wheel available specifically for the E-Ray, as well as a different style wheel for the Z06 if you choose something other than the carbon. But they're both really, really nice wheel options, much nicer than the C8 Stingray base options if you ask me. You also get the same wide body stance on the E-Ray that you do with the Z06. So the body that is over 3 inches wider than the base C8 Corvette Stingray is available for the Z06 or the E-Ray in the exact same form. You will get the wide body, you'll get the wider tires, you'll get the wider wheels. Everything physically is exactly the same, minus the fact on the E-Ray you would not have any options for a Z07 package, high wing spoiler, or super aggressive aero, which is obviously reserved for the more track capable Z06. Now, the biggest reason why the E-Ray is not necessarily quote-unquote GM's most track-ready Corvette is because of the fact that it doesn't have that more aggressive aero. It has a little bit more weight to the car because of that battery that is housed in the center tunnel, and it is more so geared for all-weather driving as well as heavy launches. So because of the heavy launch ability of the E-Ray, it does reduce the 0 to 60 time even further than the C8 Corvette Z06 does. And it also improves on the quarter-mile time by 1/10 of a second as well. So again, these cars are built and look very similar, but have two completely different approaches to the performance world. With the E-Ray, you do have the option to select the ZER package, which is, of course, their equivalent to the Z51 package of the C8 Stingray. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you a higher performance Michelin Sport Cup 4S tire, and that is their version of the summer tire. Whereas with the Z06, you can go all the way up to the Sport Cup 2Rs, which is an extremely aggressive compound and specifically built for maximum traction while on the track. If you don't select the ZER performance package with the E-Ray, you actually get a winter style tire to drive this car because, again, GM's focus is really allowing people to drive this car in all 4 seasons without any issue. Obviously, with the Sport Cup 2R tires, GM has issued many bulletins about these in the past, and they do not advise driving on those tires if it is under 40 degrees outside because they have been known to crack whenever it is super cold. Plus, you'll get next to zero traction. So just solidifying the fact that these cars were built for two very different reasons. Even though they look very similar, they're appealing to two very separate crowds. The options that the E-Ray has over top of the Z06 would be things like the ability to go into stealth mode. And what that's going to allow you to do is use nothing but the electric power to move the car in and out of your garage or however you would like to do it without actually starting the gasoline-powered engine part of the car. It does also include a totally new Corvette Command Center, which is going to give you new information screens to keep you in the know about the vehicle's battery power, in addition to a host of performance parameters. And of course, all of this is conveniently located right on the center screen, right on your infotainment system. So you can take one glance at it and have all of the performance data you need, rear-wheel drive versus front-wheel drive power and vehicle information. As I was saying though, the E-Ray does have modes that the Z06 does not. It has the ability to do stealth, which would allow you to drive the car up to 40 miles an hour in total battery power. So no gasoline engine at all. It also has the option for shuttle mode, which was going to limit you to more of a 15 mile per hour and strictly just electric battery power. Now, these are two options that are not available, obviously, on the Z06 because there is no battery power or hybrid motor on that particular car. The E-Ray also gets an all-wheel drive system because of that hybrid setup, whereas the Z06 is still your typical rear-wheel drive car. Now, with all of this said, I will be straight up with you. I am more of a C8 Corvette Z06 fan than I am an E-Ray fan. I knew I was going to be from the very beginning just because I like what the Z06 brings. I'm more of a track car kind of guy versus a daily cruiser, which is more so where the E-Ray sits in my opinion. But of course, your mileage may vary. My opinion does not have to be your opinion. Now, with all of this said, we're going to do a quick summary here, guys. Both of these cars are going to be $40,000 plus more expensive than the C8 Corvette Stingray. So if you are not interested in spending that kind of money, the C8 Stingray might be your best option. And honestly, it is still a phenomenal car in its own right. With those numbers out of the way, guys, you are still looking at about $13,000 less for the E-Ray than the Z06 after you factor in the carbon ceramic rotors as well as the gas guzzler fee that you will not be paying for the E-Ray due to that extra battery power and the boost in miles per gallon you're likely to get with that. The Z06 didn't do so great with the EPA, so there is a significant gas guzzler fee. If you get the Z07 package car, you're looking at $3,000, which is, again, not an insignificant charge. So with the E-Ray, you are saving a significant amount of money if you want to get a car that is pretty close to the same performance-wise as the Z06 minus some of the track focused bits. You can save some money by grabbing one of those instead. And honestly, I think the E-Ray is going to be more widely available than the Z06 was or is, because I do believe GM is going to want to push more E-Rays out the door than Z06s because of the EPA stuff and just the fact that GM has a lot of the parts for this car ready to go, whereas with the Z06 it was a totally different engine and things like that. So if you're on a list waiting for a Z06 and you don't mind the difference of the E-Ray, it might be a good idea to jump ship and head over to the E-Ray side of things. I actually did a video just a little bit ago with Shane, one of the subscribers on the channel, where he shared his experience of actually ordering the E-Ray over at McMulkin. I will link that video to the upper right of this one if you guys are interested. But ultimately, that's pretty much the difference between these two vehicles, guys. Obviously, there are very select options between the two that are specific to that model. So like the E-Ray, the new wheels are not going to be available on the Z06, and the wheels on the Z06, other than carbon fiber options, will not be available on the E-Ray either. So other than those options, the price differences, they're very similar cars. So it's still going to be obviously up to you, and that's pretty much how I'm going to leave it, guys. It's always up to you as to which car you get, but if you guys enjoyed this comparison, please hit that thumbs up. Let me know you're liking the content so we can keep making these kind of videos for you. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would appreciate it if you did. It really helps the channel, and it would make me very happy. And as always, guys, I will catch you in the next upload.